guys, it's Kesara, and today I'm going to be tier ranking all the fantasy books that I've read. So I've recently done a tier ranking video and I absolutely loved it. I had so much fun making it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys missed it, I will link it up in the cards for you guys so you can check it out. So because I liked that one so much, I decided to do another one of these videos in which I'm going to be tier ranking every single fantasy book that I've ever read. Now, if it's multiple books in a series, I'll be ranking all the series together, unless it's like the Realm of the Elderlings, which there's like multiple series that make up a one large series. I'll rank each individual series. You'll see what I mean. But there are a lot of books that I'm gonna be ranking, so let's just get into it. Okay, so just like last time, I have very similar tiers as to the ones that I did last time. I still have the God level tier, which is just like all-time favorite fantasy books that I just absolutely love. I'm gonna try and keep it under 12, which is gonna be really hard because I have well over 100 books / series here, and I'm really excited for it. So that's why we have the demigod level. So these are books that I think could be my favorite series of all time. They just don't hit that top 10 to 12 or so. Then I have great books, which are like solid 4.5 to 5-star fantasy books that I love. They're just not my favorite of all time. Guilty pleasure ones, because sometimes there are books that you just are like disproportionate to how good they actually are. And that's what guilty pleasure is for. Good books that are solid fantasy books that I would recommend to people. Young me loved it. So these are fantasy books usually that I read when I was younger, or maybe just really liked it at the time, but maybe won't like it as much now. Then I have okay books. Okay books are generally ones that I probably would not recommend except in special circumstances, but they're probably still books that I liked. And then we have and bad, which I think are pretty self-explanatory. So these are all of the books that we're gonna be ranking, and I'm really excited for it. So let's just get into this. So the first one up here is the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. And this very first one is gonna be a guilty pleasure one because let's face it, I loved it. It's arguably not that great. I think I gave the first book like 2 stars and the third book like 3.75 stars or something like that. But the second book is like a hard 4.5 star for me, and I really love the series as a whole because it has some great romances in it. Then we have A Darker Shade of Magic, and this is gonna be an unpopular opinion because I'm going straight to bad. I'm sorry, I hated this book. I hated it so much. Let's just not get into it. A Little Hatred, we're going from the worst to the very best because this is God level for me. Oh my gosh, I loved A Little Hatred. I love Joe Abercrombie. I love the First Law series in general, and just one of my favorite series of all time. Then we have Pilgrimage of Swords by Anthony Ryan. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I would say it's great. So for now, I'm gonna put it in good. I might change that around later depending on like the other books that I put in those areas. But for now, I'm gonna go with good. A Song of Ice and Fire, another God tier level. Yep, that's gonna go in front of First Law. I'm sorry. I love A Song of Ice and Fire. One of my favorite series of all times. It's one of the first like adult fantasy series that I just absolutely loved. So yeah, I'm going with that one. The book's not the show, just so you guys know. We have Air Awakens by Elise Kova. I'm going with bad for that. Wow. I feel very strongly about the books that I'm on this list. I didn't expect to have this many bad books right off the bat. But yeah, I did not like it. I did not like the romance in it. I felt like it was like problematic romance and just no. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I actually really like Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I'm gonna go with great. I think it's a great book. American Gods. I'm gonna go with I didn't love it. I love the concept of it. It's like probably the worst execution of such a great concept that I've read in a while. On Unkindness of Additions, I'm gonna go with okay. I love the concept of it. Absolutely love the concept of it. I think the execution of it could have been a lot better. Arusha on the End of Time, I'm gonna go with This is another one. I love the concept of it. I love the idea of it. I didn't like the character. The character annoyed me so much that it just kind of ruined the story for me. And there was also like these pop culture references that just seemed inappropriate to the story. So yeah, it just didn't work for me. So Best Served Cold, for Best Served Cold, I'm just doing all 3 of the First Law like standalone novels as one. I do think Best Served Cold is probably the best of the 3, but I'm gonna go with Great for these. In front of Alice in Wonderland too. I think the First Law standalones are fantastic and they're great books. Black Leopard, Red Wolf. I feel bad about this one, but I'm gonna go with okay. The reason why I feel bad about this one is because I think the book is brilliantly written. I loved the way the writing was done. I loved the audiobook. It had this rhythmical quality to it that I absolutely loved, but I did not enjoy the content whatsoever. So I actually have a review on that one that I explain that concept a little bit better, but yeah, I just didn't enjoy the content for that one at all. So then we have The Rainwall Chronicles by Robin Hobb. For those of you who don't know, Robin Hobb is one of my favorite authors of all time. The Rainwall Chronicles is not my favorite series by her, so I'm just gonna go good. Not good, great. I'm just gonna go great with that one. I think it's a great series. I enjoy it, but it's not one of my favorites by her. Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. I'm also gonna go great with that one. I read that one during a reading slump. I've only read the first book in that series so far. It's a very recent read for me. I think this is a book that I would really love it at another point in my life, but just at the time I was reading it, I was just not liking anything that I was reading, but I could tell objectively that I would really like it because I had 0 complaints about that book. Book of the Ancestor by Mark Lawrence. I'm also gonna go great with that one. I think, yeah, I'm gonna go right there. Great. I love the Book of the Ancestor series. Nona is fantastic. Just the entire thing. Fantastic series. I really love it. So Circe by Madeline Miller. I'm not sure. Great, good. I think I'm gonna go good with Circe. I gave it 5 stars when I read it, but that was thinking of it more along the lines of like historical fiction sort of thing, not so much as a fantasy. And if I'm basing it off of other fantasy books, I would just go good. If it was just like historical fiction, even though like it's not, there's fantastical elements to it, then I would probably go great. But I'm gonna go with good on that one. City of Bones, Mortal Instruments. I did not even love these when I was little. Like, I hated them when I was little. So yeah, that's gonna go bad for me. Bad, just bad. City of Ghosts, I'm gonna go okay. The end of the okay. I think it's interesting. I like some ideas there, but like it's not great. Crown of Feathers, so I really loved Crown of Feathers when I read it last year. I only kind of liked Heart of Flames, which is the second book in that series, when I read it this year. So I would say Crown of Feathers for me would be Demigod. But Heart of Flames is closer to like good level, so I'm gonna go with great for Crown of Feathers, considering both of them together. A Curse So Dark and Lonely, I'm just gonna go good for that whole series. I enjoy it. I think it's okay. I'm not that big of a fan of fairy tale retellings. I just read it mostly for like the romance in it, which Bridget Kemmerer does really well, but I don't think it's guilty pleasure level good, so just good. Oh, Dark Tower series. So for the record, I've only read the first 2 books in the Dark Tower series. I absolutely hated the Gunslinger. Like, hated the Gunslinger. But I absolutely loved The Drawing of 3, which is the second book in this series. So I don't know what to do with this one, because like if I'm going based off the Gunslinger, it'd be like bad, like worst of the worst, bad. But if I'm going off The Drawing of 3, it would be great. So should I go good? Should I go okay? It's definitely not Young Me Loved It, because no one is reading that at a young age. For now, I'm gonna put it at the end of good, and we'll see where I go from there. Daughter from the Dark by Marina and Sergei Dyachenko. I like their other book a lot more than this one. I'm gonna go okay with this one. I'm gonna put it at the beginning of the okay. Should I put good? No, I think I'm gonna put it as okay. Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I'm also gonna go okay with this one. I really enjoy Laini Taylor's writing, absolutely beautiful writing. That was more so when I was reading Strange the Dreamer, but it made me want to read Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I enjoyed the first one, I thought it was really good. The second one I really didn't enjoy half as much, so okay. Death Sworn by Leah Cypress. I'm gonna go guilty pleasure for that one. Like, it's not romancy at all. It's not that great of a book, let's put it that way. But I kind of really loved it when I was reading it. I just found it at a good time. It was good. So yeah, guilty pleasure for that one. Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I'm gonna say good or great. Good or great. Good. I'm gonna go the beginning of the good. I think it's a solidly good book that I really enjoyed. Ella Enchanted, I'm gonna go with good also. Solid good book. I really enjoyed. Ferris, I'm gonna go with okay. It was an okay book. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Honestly, I don't know if I'd recommend it. Fallen, bad. Yeah, just bad. Yeah, no, the end of the bad, like the worst of the worst. I hated it. Royal Assassin, I believe that's the second book in the Farseer trilogy. So that's supposed to represent the Farseer trilogy, which is my least favorite of all of the Realm of the Elderlings. But I think I'm still gonna give it a great. I'm gonna put it over here at the end of the greats. Like I said, I love the Realm of the Elderlings, so yeah, it's there. Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin. Obviously, I love A Song of Ice and Fire. Fire and Blood was not one of my favorite, like, companion novels. I do think it stands alone by itself well enough, but I'm just gonna go good with it. I'm gonna leave it right there because I enjoy it as a historical text, but it's just good for me. First Law trilogy, all the way up to God tier. I think I like A Little Hatred a little bit more than the original First Law, just because it's a little bit more progressive, in my opinion, but I still really, really like it. First Law, like, still one of my favorite series of all time. Oh, Assassin's Fate. This is Robin Hobb at her best. No, it's gonna be God level. Before or after First Law, I think I'm gonna put it at the end, but it's still God level for me because, oh, such a great series. I absolutely love the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. It's like my favorite Robin Hobb trilogy. Assassin's Fate is my favorite book by Robin Hobb. It just does such a good job of wrapping up the series as a whole. Okay, so we got Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. If it was just Foundry Side, I would say great, but I really didn't enjoy the second book, Shorefall. Shorefall was really just okay for me, so I'm gonna go with good for the Foundry Side trilogy so far. Furthermore by Tara Mafi, I'm gonna go with good as well. I enjoyed Furthermore. I only read the first book so far. I plan on reading more of the books in it, but it's a solid middle grade series. Girls of Paper and Fire, man. I wanted to like that book so much and I just didn't. It was just very Gods of Jade and Shadow, same. I wanted to love that book. I wanted so badly to love that book, but I just couldn't. Good Omens. I kind of want to put it in the F pile, but I think I'm actually gonna just go down to the bad. I think it was supposed to be funny, but I didn't find it funny at all. And if it's supposed to be funny and you don't find it funny, then just like, what is this book supposed to be about? Graceling, I'm gonna put it in Young Me Loved It. I enjoyed it when I was younger. I don't think I would enjoy it as much now. Harry Potter, God tier, and yes, beginning of the God tier because I'm a sucker. I'm just such a sucker for the Harry Potter series. Heroes Die, we're going up to, should I do Demigod for it? Nah, I'm gonna leave it in great. And I'm gonna put it right there in great. I think it's a great book. I do want to read the other books in that series. High Fire by Owen Colfer. I'm gonna go with okay. I'm gonna go with the beginning of the okay. It was definitely a very interesting book because it's about a dragon who lives in like modern day Louisiana, which is interesting, but it definitely wasn't my style. His Dark Materials. So this is gonna be weird, but I'm gonna put it in Young Me Loved It. I did not read this when I was little. I read this when I was a little bit older. A little bit older. I read this last year, like for the first time. I thought it was okay. I think that when I was younger, I would have loved it. Thinking of them now, I just think they're okay. As I was reading them, I actually really enjoyed them to an extent, except for the last one. So Young Me Loved It is the closest I can come for that one. House of Night. Whew. I'm gonna go with bad. Bad. What is wrong with me? Why did I even read that? How to Train Your Dragon is good. I think it's a solidly good middle grade series. I like How to Train Your Dragon. I haven't read all of them yet. I'm still currently in the middle of it. For the most part, I really like the How to Train Your Dragon series. Inkheart. I'm gonna go again to The Young Me Loved It. I loved it when I was little. I don't know if I would like it now. The Name of the Wind, I'm gonna go up to demigod level. I don't think it's one of my favorite series of all times, but I do think it's a solidly great fantasy series. I really hope that it gets finished soon. Kushiel's Dart, I'm gonna go with great. I think it's a solidly great book, and I want to read the rest of the books in that series. I've only read the first one so far. Lightbringer, demigod level. I absolutely love the Lightbringer series. I read it last year for the first time. It completely blew me away. I love the politics in it. I love the world building. I love the characters. Just like everything. I do think sometimes the plot annoys me, which is why it's not one of my favorite series of all time. But overall, fantastic series. Live Ship Traders is next. And yes, we're going up to God level. I love the Live Ship Traders. Like, it is my second favorite series by Robin Hobb, and it's fantastic. It is the series that made me fall in love with Robin Hobb as a writer, and I just love it. I love everything about it. Love Sugar Magic. I'm gonna go with great for Love Sugar Magic. Whoa, why did I go all the way up there? Great. I'm gonna go with great for Love Sugar Magic. I think it's a great middle grade series. I've only read the first book so far, so maybe that'll change. But so far, I really, really like it. The Magicians by Lev Grossman. I'm gonna go with okay. I'm gonna go with the beginning of the okay over here. I think that is a solid like magic school sort of book, but I really don't see myself recommending it to anyone. I just enjoyed reading it as I was reading it. We have Malazan Book of the Fallen. Just disclaimer here, I've only read the first 2 books, so this is based off of the first 2 books in Malazan Book of the Fallen. Before all of you guys go running that I should have put this higher, I'm gonna go great. Right there, I really, really like the second book. I didn't like the first book as much. I thought the first book was a lot harder to read. I think Malazan has the potential of being God tier level for me, but it's just not there yet. So Mask of Shadows by Lindsay Miller, I'm gonna go with good. Let's go right there with good. So this one surprises me because the more that I think about it, the more that I like it. So it's like a magical assassin like competition book, and it has a gender fluid main character, which is really interesting. So I think it's a solidly good fantasy book. Mistborn, oh my gosh. All the way up to the top. God level or demigod level? I think I'm gonna go demigod level with Mistborn. I think in the past it's been God level for me. I think I've started to grow out of that series just a little bit, but it's still a fantastic series that I absolutely love. Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I'm gonna go with great. I absolutely love Strange the Dreamer. I think it's a great series. I had so much fun with Laini Taylor's beautiful writing, so yeah. Great series. Nevermore, oh, that's going all the way to the top. It is God level for me. I love the Nevermore series. I think it's such a fun little middle grade series that more people need to read. Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. Bad. Just bad. I can't decide if it's worse or better than Good Omens, but I almost DNF'd that book like 4 times before I finished it. I didn't like it. Poor Neil Gaiman. I feel so bad putting him all the way down here because he's an author that I really want to like, but it just hasn't happened for me yet. Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I'm going to go with good. Solidly good book. I enjoyed it. Once Upon a Marigold, the book that I loved when I was little. Like, I would read this book over and over again. I reread it last year. I thought it was okay. So yeah, Young Me Loved It is right where that needs to be. So this is going to be weird, but I'm also going to put Outlander in the Young Me Loved It category. I didn't read it when I was young. I read it like a couple years ago, but when I read it, I absolutely loved it. I read like the first 4 books in the series. I started the 5th one and just stopped reading it, and I have no interest in going back. So like, I loved it at the time, but I don't feel like finishing it. Pawn of Prophecy by David Eddings. I'm gonna go I didn't feel a whole lot when I was reading it. I decided not to continue on with the series. Percy Jackson's and the Olympians. Can I put it as guilty pleasure? No, I'm gonna put it as solidly great series. I really enjoy the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, especially the first and the last book. I do think some of the other books in there would get like good level or maybe even okay level status, but overall, I really enjoyed the series. I think it's great. Peter Pan. Peter Pan's great. I love Peter Pan. Better or worse than Alice in Wonderland? I think I like it more than Alice in Wonderland. I would put Peter Pan like right there. Peter Pan's great. I love it. Prince of Thorns. I'm gonna go for Prince of Thorns. Mind you, Mark Lawrence is an author that I really like, and I do plan on continuing on with that series. It's probably like the higher level for me, but the very first book in that series, I really don't think does a great job of setting up the rest of the series, and I don't know, I just don't think I like it as much as some of his other series. Realm of Nights, I'm gonna put up here with guilty pleasure. I really loved it when I read it. I don't see myself actually continuing on with the series, but like I really loved it when I read it, and I actually, like, looking back on it, I still really like it, but it's arguably not great. Red Queen, again, like what was I thinking? Like, why did I even read that? Remnant Chronicles, I'm gonna go with okay. Like, I don't understand why people love that series so much. Like, so many people love Remnant Chronicles, and I'm just like, really? Really? Why? It was just okay to me. Semblin Ascends. I'm gonna go with I know that's an unpopular opinion. So many people love this book. So many people love Semblin Ascends, and I just thought it was just action-packed for no reason. It felt like one of those action novels that has like a twist at the end just for the sake of having a twist that has like nothing to do with the rest of the series, and just like, I was over it within like the first few chapters. I still managed to finish the book because like some parts of it were interesting, but like no character development, very little world. I mean, there was a good amount of world building, but still, like, I just really was annoyed by the plot. Serpent and Dove, I'm gonna go with okay, good, okay, good, okay, good, okay, good. I'm gonna go with okay for Serpent and Dove. I mean, it was okay. Like, I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was amazing. I didn't hate it, so it was okay. Grisha, which is interesting because I didn't care for it that much when I first read it. But the more I think about it, I actually like it more. I think the world building is really interesting. So I'm also gonna go okay for the original Shadow and Bone trilogy. Six of Crows duology go is going up to, this is interesting because I put it at demigod level for the last video that I did, but I think for this one, I'm just gonna go with great. That is interesting. As a book in general, I loved it. As a fantasy book specifically, I just thought it was great. I don't know. That's weird. Soldier Sun trilogy by Robin Hobb, I think it was good. I don't think it was great. I think it could have been better, but it was good. It was good. Sookie Stackhouse novels, I think they're okay. I liked them when I was reading them. I didn't love them. I just thought they were okay. Sorcery of Thorns, I wanted to love that book so much. I wanted it so much. And it has such a great concept, but oh man. Golden Fool. So this is going to be the Tawny Man trilogy, and that's going to go straight up here to demigod level. Like I said, love the Realm of the Elderlings. Tawny Man trilogy is my third favorite trilogy within the Realm of the Elderlings umbrella. So yeah, demigod level is right where I would expect it to be. The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. So I read the first book in this series. The second book's coming out later this year. I thought it was good. I thought it was a solidly good book that I enjoyed. The Chronicles of Narnia. So this is an interesting one because I did not actually like it when I was little, when I was reading it. I just thought they were okay. So I'm gonna go with okay. I'm gonna go up with the end of okay because like the second book really brings that series up for me. But like some of the other books in that series, I didn't like that much at all. City of Brass, I didn't like it. I wanted to like it so much, but I'm gonna go with for City of Brass. The Darkest Part of the Forest, I'm gonna go with okay. I think Holly Black is a great author. I like the way that she writes her characters and her plots. I think she has other ones that are better. The Diviners, is that really fantasy? It came up as fantasy when I was searching for it. I don't know, but I didn't like it. Going with bad, just bad. I decided not to continue on with the series after the first one. Poppy War, I'm so excited. So the Poppy War series is god level for me. I absolutely love the Poppy War trilogy. The first one I thought was fantastic. It was definitely demigod level for me, the first one alone. And then the second one came out, and the second one is amazing. So much better than the first one. I cannot wait for the next one to come out later this year. Maybe it'll like bump it up on my list of god level books. But yeah, love the Poppy War trilogy. So we have The Dragon Riders of Pern by Anne McCaffrey, which is okay. I absolutely love the concept of the Dragon Riders of Pern because it's about like people who live on this planet in which red dust falls from the sky, and the red dust eats all organic matter. So it makes it basically uninhabitable. But there's these aliens that live on the planet that look like dragons that can like destroy the red dust. So the humans have a pact with the dragons, and it's great. I love it. But I think the execution of it is not as good as it could be, which is why it's just okay. The Dragon's Path also going in okay. So this is the first book in the Dagger and Coin series by Daniel Abraham. I think it has a really interesting setup, but I just don't think it had the payoff in the first book that it really should have had. So next we have The Ember Blade by Chris Wooding, which we are gonna go all the way up to great. I think The Ember Blade is great. It's a great start to a great series. It has some great character building, and I'm excited to see when the next book is coming out, how good it is. The False Prince. So my last one, I did this one as well. This is gonna be a guilty pleasure for me. I really enjoy The False Prince. I don't know if it's necessarily that great of a book, but I do plan on continuing on the series because I enjoy it way more than I should. The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I think it is a solidly great book. I haven't continued on with the series yet. I really need to continue on with the series, but it's solidly very great, and I can't wait to read the other books in that series. The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. This is a retelling of the Grimm Brothers fairy tale, The Goose Girl. I'm going with okay for that one. The Grace of Kings. I'm gonna go with okay for that one as well. It's Asian-inspired high fantasy. It's incredibly political. The conflict was honestly, it was based off of miscommunication, and I felt like the two characters, if they just talked to each other, like the conflict would have just been solved right away. So that annoyed me. But otherwise, it was like definitely really action-packed in really good ways. But because it was based off of a conflict that I think didn't need to be a conflict, it was just okay for me. The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. Finally, we got a good level book for Neil Gaiman. Man, I was like starting to get a little nervous that I wouldn't have a Neil Gaiman book that I liked. But I actually did solidly like The Graveyard Book. I think it was a good book. The Hobbit. You guys are going to hate me for this one. I'm just going to put it as okay. I know. I didn't love The Hobbit. I thought it was okay. It has great world building, it has great characters, but man, it's so boring. Why is the plot so boring? Yeah. The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. You know what's really funny? I reread this last year and I liked it more than when I was in high school. That's bad. I'm gonna go with good. I think it's a solidly good series. I understand that it steals a lot from like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and all of that. Like, in my opinion, it was done well. Like, it was done well. The Lies of Locke Lamora. Oh, I love The Lies of Locke Lamora. It's going up here with all of my demigod books. Man, Scott Lynch knows how to structure a novel and how to plot out a novel. Fantastic, fantastic novel. I plan on rereading that one at some point soon. Lord of the Rings, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't love it. I do think it's a great series, absolutely great, but I didn't love it. So I'm gonna put it right here in the great. Be happy to bash me in the comments for that, but I stand by that. I think the movies are some of my favorite movies of all time. The book itself, though, the writing, I think, really gets in my way of my enjoyment of The Lord of the Rings. The Night Circus, we're going all the way to the top for the Night Circus because for me, the Night Circus is god level. I don't know where I want to put it. I think I'm going to put it at the end here because fantasy-wise, technically, like there's a ton of magic in the Night Circus, actually. It's just not the type of fantasy style that you would typically expect. Also, I can see why people wouldn't like The Night Circus because the character building and like the plot is not great, but some parts of the character building are good. And just like the writing is so beautiful. The writing just makes up for everything for me in The Night Circus. So yeah, it's one of my favorite books of all time. Priority of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. It was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I really wanted to love it because it's such a chunky book that like, if you spend so much time in a book like that, you really want to love it, but I just didn't. The Queen of the Tearling, I actually really liked when I first read it. I thought it was really good, but I've since like not liked it as much. So I'm actually gonna put it in Young Me Loved It. I didn't read it when I was young. I read it last year, so it wasn't super young. I really loved it when I first read it, but right now I just kind of think back to it and I think it's okay. So I'm gonna leave it Young Me Loved It. Rage of Dragons, we're going up to the top. Rage of Dragons is fantastic. I'm gonna put it right there, demigod level, like, it deserves to be there. Rage of Dragons, man, I can't wait for the next book in that series to come out. The Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman, it's okay. It's not great, it's not terrible, it's just okay. Right there. The Savior's Champion by Jenna Moreci, I could have done without it. Why did I even read that? Shadow of What Was Lost, I thought this was funny, but I'm gonna stick with it. Guilty pleasure for me. I don't think it's great, but I loved it as much as as it should have been a great book for me. I absolutely loved it, but I think it's one of those, like, it's kind of guilty pleasure for me. Spiderwick Chronicles, I'm gonna go with for the Spiderwick Chronicles. I think if I had read it when I was younger, I would have absolutely loved it, but I read it when I was older. Star-Touched Queen, man, I think I'm gonna have to go with bad for the Star-Touched Queen. I just have a fundamental difference of opinion with that book, and I did not like it. It just didn't work for me. The Starless Sea, I'm gonna go with good. I think it was a solidly good book. I really loved specifically the writing in the book. I liked like the atmospheric nature of it. I do think, again, the character and plot is just not there, but that's just, I think, Erin Morgenstern's writing. 10,000 Doors of January, I'm gonna go with good for that one as well. I think it was a solidly good book. I enjoyed it. Fantasy-wise, though, I don't think it's great. I think, like, if we're looking at just books in general, I think it's great. If we're looking for fantasy books, I just think it's good. I don't know how to explain that other than it was a good book. It was a good book. It was just not a great fantasy book. The Throne of Five Winds, this is a very complex political fantasy. It was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. I enjoyed reading it. I think the politics could have been a little bit more detailed, but overall, I did enjoy it. The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates, I'm going to put this up to good. Like, as a book, I think it's great. As a fantasy book, I think it's just good, but it's a solidly good fantasy book. The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw, it was okay. It was like this creepy, witchy tale. I think it could have been a lot better. Folk of the Air by Holly Black, that is definitely a guilty pleasure for me. Like, I absolutely love this series, like, way more than I should. Like, way more than I should, especially that last book. That last book is arguably not great, but I just love it so much. It's definitely because of the romance in it, but I just, like, I can't. It's definitely guilty pleasure for me. Throne of Glass. So for the record, so you know, I've only read the first 2 books in this series, so my rating is based off of the first 2 books, and I'm gonna have to go with bad. I'm sorry. The first book was bad, the second book was better, but still bad. And I understand the third book is when the series gets good. That's what I've heard. I do plan on reading Heir of Fire. I have the book. I plan on reading it eventually. And maybe I will up-rank it once I read the rest of the series, but as of right now, it falls into bad. Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Rowanhorse. I'm gonna go with I like the idea of it. I don't think the execution was that great. Twilights. We're gonna go with Young Me Loved It. And I'm actually gonna put it at the beginning here. I think arguably it's not that great of a series, but I do think there's something about it that makes people love it in maybe a guilty pleasure way, but I don't love it enough to call it a guilty pleasure series. I did like it at the time. I didn't love it the way everyone else was like crazy for Twilight. I didn't love it that much. In fact, like I started boycotting it pretty early on, but then I still read the book, so it's not really boycotting it, right? But I think there's a reason so many people liked it, but it's arguably not great. So this next one is The Underland Chronicles by Suzanne Collins, which is one of my favorite series of all time. But even though it's considered fantasy, which would put it at least demigod level for me, but even though it's considered fantasy, I personally don't like it as a fantasy book, so I'm gonna bump it down to great. It is a middle grade series that I absolutely adore and I absolutely love, but I don't really consider it fantasy myself, even though it's considered a fantasy series. So because of that, like as a fantasy series, it's just great. As a series overall, it's like God level good for me. Vampire Academy, man, I loved Vampire Academy when I read it, even more so than Twilight. I have no desire to go back and read those books, but I loved them so much when I read them. Villain series by V.E. Schwab. Is that even technically fantasy? I don't know. I liked the first one. I thought the first one was good. I didn't like the second one as much, so I think I'm gonna leave it in okay. I think it was okay. I wasn't too happy with it, but I think it's a very interesting concept and it was okay. Vita Nostra, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. One of my favorite books of all time. Such a great dark fantasy series. I think I'm going to put it right there. I don't like it Mistborn level, but I like it more than Name of the Wind. That's about right for me. It's a dark magic school fantasy series that is about transformation, and I absolutely love it. It's also translated from Russian, and they need to translate the rest of the books in the series because I've only read the first one so far, but it was fantastic. We have World Breaker by Brandon Sanderson. That is a solidly great book. Solidly great book. There's supposed to be like a sequel to it coming out like within the next like 5 years or so, and I'm excited to read it. So yeah. With the Wayward Children series by Shannon McGuire, I'm gonna go with okay. I think some of these books in the series I like more than others, but I do think a lot of them are just not great, especially like the last one, the third book, and then the last book. I really didn't care for very much. So yeah, just okay. We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. I'm gonna go with good. It was a solidly good book that I enjoyed. Wheel of Time. Man, I love the Wheel of Time series. It was one of the first series that really got me into fantasy. I reread the Wheel of Time series multiple times at this point, and there's 14 books in that series, so yeah, I must love it. So demigod level, definitely for me. Wild Magic by Tamora Pierce. I read it when I was younger, didn't care for it that much then, so I'm gonna go with eh. Yeah, I don't have that much to say about it. Winter's Curse, again, eh. I don't fully understand why so many people love the Winter's Curse trilogy that much. Winter Night series by Catherine Arden. Oh my gosh, I love the Winter Night trilogy. It's such a beautifully written story of like wintertime and all of that. Like, I definitely see myself rereading it the next time we have like a good cold front. Witcher series by Andrzej Sapkowski. I do think it is a solidly great fantasy series. I'm gonna be leaving it up there in the great tier. Oh, Forever. That's the Wolves of Mercy Fall series by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm gonna be honest, I did not love it when I was younger, and that's when I read it. I just thought they were okay. So I'm gonna leave it in the okay category. Yeah, like right about there. And then we have Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson. I've only read the first two so far, but so far it is already god level for me. That might change depending on how Oathbringer and Rhythm of War go for me, but as of right now, with just The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance, I would put it right there. So wow. So these are all of the fantasy books that I have read. I might have missed one or two here or there. I'm surprised I only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 god level. Like, those are my top 10 fantasy books of all time. Man, actually, I'm pretty happy with this top 10. I'm pretty happy with these demigod level ones too, and with these great ones. So mind you, from here above, all 5-star books for me. Like basically all 5-star, if not like maybe a 4.5-star book here or there, but for the most part, all 5-star books for me. Some of these here, also 5-star books for me. Let's just be honest. I'm pretty happy with how this went down. Man, I feel like that took a lot longer than I thought it would take. But if you've read these books, let me know if you think I ranked them correctly or if you would have had a different place to rank them. I had so much fun making it, so I hope you guys loved watching it as well. I post videos on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so consider subscribing. I also post bonus videos, so if you want to be notified as soon as I upload, you can click that little bell icon. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.